counties are looking at their staff as well, and verifying for us as well that each one of their staff members that came in contact with this person has also been appropriately protected.
On March 4th, when you went to the urgent care, why did he get sent home? Was a test not done? I mean, he was very ill. Why didn't the urgent care do a test?
Apparently at that time did have symptoms, but I can't predict what was going on at that time. We were notified, however, yesterday regarding this individual, and given the story, we agreed that this person should be tested, and I, for one, am glad we did. So
what other information do you need for the urgent care workers and the EMS folks who took the person to the hospital? What other information do you need before you determine?
Right, so it is about what their specific interaction was with the individual, how long they were interacting with that individual. For healthcare workers and EMS responders, it is specifically about what procedures they may have engaged in. And again, up front, first of all, is what protective gear, personal protective equipment, we call PPE, what were they wearing, and ensuring that they were wearing them and wearing them appropriately. For any other individuals in terms of potential close contacts in the community, it's again, what kind of contact were you face to face, talking face to face with that individual? How long was it? At least 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour? How long was it? Did the person appear? Were they coughing in your face? Were they sneezing? These are the kinds of things that we need to learn about. But primarily, did you have absolute face-to-face contact with this person for a significant period of time? That's what we're looking for. That's what is the risk. If you just walked past someone, that's not really the risk. That's not the risk that we're looking for. Regarding the plane, I just want to discuss, advise that what our CDC and we look for, our CDC colleagues and we look for specifically are people who are seated in the same row with the individual, and potentially at least a row, potentially 2 rows to be conserved, 2 rows in front and 2 rows behind. So that's what our CDC colleagues will be looking at. The normal procedures for anyone who does travel ill on a plane or any conveyance essentially is to notify the states of record for each of the individuals on that plane. So it will be multiple states, I anticipate, that will be involved and be notified. We will be notified by the CDC regarding any Hawaii residents that CDC identifies as potentially at risk.
So this person has flown from Washington to Hawaii, so any precautions for people who have travel plans?
Now, I think we, obviously if you look at, there are more states that are reporting COVID-19 cases. I just want to remind you, in Hawaii, we have no evidence of community spread of the virus. We do have 2 confirmed presumptive positive cases that we believe that they became infected out of state and returned to the islands. So I do think that you should, if you have travel plans, you should look at where you're traveling to. Obviously, the most number of cases, there are over 160 confirmed cases across the country as we speak, and that number is increasing every day. More than 60 of those cases are from the state of Washington. California has had about just under 50 cases reported. So California and Washington State are the states that have had the most number of confirmed COVID-19 cases. But there are now, I think, 20 states that have reported a positive, presumptive positive confirmation of COVID-19.
I know we asked this on Friday, and some doctors were saying that they weren't able to get the testing done because the test kits weren't really widely available at the time. Do you think this could possibly be the case with the urgent care? Has anybody asked the urgent care why he wasn't tested on March 4th? And is this something we're concerned about?
No, I mean, as Dr. Park had said, we will get more information. We will make contact with all of the locations and the people that were involved or had contact with this individual, and then we'll be getting the best information we can and then making recommendations to the individuals.
Had the CDC received the positive test result from the first COVID positive result case to the state yet, or is that still in transit?
received the confirmation from the first test. One thing that's important to keep in mind is that there's a lot of flu going around. Very likely this individual was assumed to have the flu and not COVID-19, and that may explain why he wasn't tested for that. Again, we'd urge everyone to get a flu vaccine. Clearly, in this case, the individual did have COVID-19, and we are going to be following up appropriately on that. I wanted to emphasize before we close this that we're here. We are on the day that we found out about this case, and we haven't had a chance to explore many of the issues that I think you have questions about, and we are going to be getting back to you on that issue. And Governor, you may want to talk a little bit more about talking to other states and so forth.
We are. All the governors are having weekly conference calls with the vice president and the national team on COVID-19. And so I will be participating at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning at Hawaii Standard Time. Last week there were 50 governors on the call, and the health heads in all of those states were involved. And Governor Inslee had spoken about Washington State, some of the cases and the things that they're dealing with. So it certainly is helpful. It's an opportunity to share information, identify those things that other states are doing to protect their communities, just as we are doing here, and certainly share information that helps us all do a better job of protecting our communities.
Can you explain how the process goes where you're finding where he went? I mean, are these DOH workers? How do you track this person and who's doing that?
Yeah, so we were fortunate to be able to speak with this individual before they basically could not be able to communicate with anyone. So we were able to get key pieces of information from that individual, and we're following up on those key pieces of information. And again, not just in this state, but also with colleagues in Washington State, because that has relevance directly for them, because this is an indication of disease activity in the state of Washington.
Can you give a general age range of the two cases?
This person is an elderly person. The other person is an adult. So, I mean, they're both adults, essentially. So,
65?
we can't, again, that's personal protected information. So, I think the relevance here is they're adults. They're both adults.
Governor, can you offer some words of reassurance to the public who might be alarmed at the news of the second case?
So certainly, I would encourage everyone to take responsibility in our community for keeping our community disease-free. We are working with all businesses to encourage sick employees to stay at home. We're encouraging businesses to look at how they might be able to expand telework or distancing within their work environments to reduce social interaction, increase social distancing. Once again, I certainly would encourage our community, if you are ill and feeling sick, you should stay at home. You should not be going out into the community. Certainly if you're in the at-risk group, so if you're older, if you have pre-existing health conditions that make you susceptible to respiratory illness, then those individuals should really limit travel. They should limit cruising. They should stay away from large crowds.
Can we talk about the overall situation now?
Sure.
You folks had 20 tests, am I correct? That was Friday? So we had 80 Friday?
Actually, that includes some tripler cases too.
Yeah.
We've been working with Tripler Army Hospital who also has testing ability, and as we've looked at possible cases or persons under investigation, in our case counts we are including cases that Tripler has also looked at. So you may have seen a bump in the number of cases from Tripler, but the State Health Department itself has looked at approximately 12 or so individuals to date, including the individuals that we talked about today. And we expect the numbers of cases to increase, number of individuals who are testing to be increasing dramatically over the next weeks.
Washington now or to the other states?
There, certainly travel restrictions is one of the topics that we talk about on the call. There has not been any specific travel restrictions within the U.S. That have been announced at this point in time. Again, the president's team is looking at what point would it be appropriate. They are generally saying that people should look at discretionary travel, and if you have discretionary travel scheduled for any of the states that have had significant number of cases, then everyone needs to make their own decisions. But clearly, as this individual traveled to Washington State, he became infected.
So we're getting reports that various hospitals and urgent care facilities where doctors have been requesting test kits. Can you say how that's going? How many are disseminated, and how many people are asking?
So, as Dr. Anderson had said, the state of Hawaii lab is equipped and ready to execute tests. Tripler Hospital's lab is also available to test for the COVID-19. The procedure is the physician. Yeah. Yes, we are working with the private sector labs, DLS and clinical labs. Dr. Desmond is working with the labs to get them through the certification process so that the private labs will be able to also test for COVID-19. So we are definitely focused on increasing the number of test facilities that can conduct the test. Vice President Pence did announce last week that there are 2 large labs on the mainland that also are available to process the test. But obviously, we believe if somebody may be a COVID-19 case, that we would encourage them to get tested in the state of Hawaii because we can get the results within 24 hours.
Has everyone that you folks feel should be tested been tested, or is there a shortage of time or staffing to help do that?
No, I mean, I think at this point in time, all the people that we believe should be tested have been tested. We continue to work with physicians and send them guidance about when the things that we believe they should do in examining individuals who have symptoms, and then requesting the appropriate tests for COVID-19 at that time.
When is the timeline for these private labs to assist with this? And is it right up until this point a case of you just didn't have the capacity to test, and you're hoping that it increases?
Well, remember, if we go back to a month ago, the only lab that was certified to be able to have the knowledge and the ability to test for COVID-19 was the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta, Georgia. Nobody else in the country had the authorization or had enough of the materials to conduct any of the tests. Now, today, as we speak, every state health laboratory has been certified to test for COVID-19. So there's been a tremendous increase in the ability to test for COVID-19, and I'm proud that the state of Hawaii's lab was one of the first state labs to be equipped to have been certified to be able to demonstrate that they could conduct the test reliably and accurately. And we are working with the private labs. So, again, they have to go through the process. We have to get them the test kits. They have to stand it up. Our Dr. Desmond is involved with certifying that they can execute the test appropriately and with accuracy, and then they'll be able to accept and administer the tests to physicians who request. Again, we have to focus on physicians at this time. Physicians are getting the case history, identifying and eliminating diseases that are prevalent in our community today, and then identifying the candidates who should be tested for COVID-19.
So doctors still request the test?
Yes.
And then are we still at 250 a week, or is that what we're still going for?
That's the capacity that we believe we would be able to handle at the state lab. We also believe that should we get to the point that we need to be able to do more than 250 in a week, then we can talk about increasing staff, working overtime, extra hours to be able to increase the testing capacity of the state lab.
Governor, to clarify, when you said people should look at discretionary travel to Washington, California, what did you mean by look at?
Well, I mean, I think they should consider whether they really need to travel at this point in time. They should also look at where they'll be traveling to. I think if you go to the state of Washington's Department of Health's website and the state of California, they do identify in which counties the cases of COVID-19 are, and they can make a determination about whether they will be in those areas. You know, we do believe that although in both California and Washington State's case, we believe that there is community spread of the virus in those communities. You know, they are isolated to a few of the counties or a few of the areas. So, I mean, I think that obviously if it's a totally discretionary trip, then, you know, people can decide how much risk they want to personally bear. Obviously, if they're healthy, the risk is less. If they are older and have underlying health conditions, then the risk is higher.
So again, we don't know for sure how many folks have been tested in the state.
Well, I know you have that number.
We know exactly how many have been tested in the state. I just don't have it offhand. It's in the order of 20 or so over the last week. Keep in mind, we've only had the test available to us for about a week now. And of course, we are looking to be testing a lot more people going down the line. By the way, with regard to the timelines, I'm understanding those two mainland labs that are gearing up to do the tests, the governor mentioned, are expected to have their test available as early as Monday, tomorrow. That will require sending a sample to the mainland, though, and of course there's a time delay in getting those results. And even then, it would be required that a physician would have to evaluate the individual and order the test. So no one can just go to a clinic and ask for the test. You're going to need to have a physician's order